You all set?
I'm ready.
I think we're ready.
So good morning, everybody. My name is Senator Mike Hastings. I'm the chairman of the Senate Energy and Public Utility Committee, and I just wanted to have a press conference today to elaborate on our first opening hearing to discuss policy goals in relation to clean energy. I'll just say that it was an unbelievably elaborate and detailed hearing where a lot of our state's utility providers and utility generators were able to speak on various topic areas and give us their positions. This is going to be the first hearing of a long series of hearings that'll go until May. That'll touch on various points about the energy industry and how we develop energy policy in the state. What I'm most proud about is the fact that we did this in an open and a transparent manner. We've included many groups, whether that's consumers, advocates, faith-based organizations, the Attorney General, Citizens Utility Board, you name it. I wanted to make sure that there was as much participation in this process as possible. These hearings are also meant to supplement the governor's working groups on the energy policy that we're developing. We could talk about this topic area 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but my goal is to act in a very narrow and focused manner so that we're able to accomplish key policy objectives, and that is how do we reduce the carbon footprint in Illinois, how do we invest in more renewable energy, and what are we going to do with the existing energy infrastructure in our state. So I was very excited about that today. I think there's a lot of buy-in by all the stakeholders about accomplishing key tasks, and I'm just very excited to work not only with the House of Representatives but the governor's office in investing in the future of Illinois for future generations to come. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
So,
except from Jerry.
Is anything, we're getting all these people to work together, you mentioned all these groups, how do you come to an agreement with all of these interests at play?
I think every company has various interests, right? And for me, there's two different areas of the state. There's the northern part of the state and the southern part of the state, and they're both in different regions. I just thought it was important to get people's input on each region and what those issues are, and then what people could actually commit to. So we actually talked about the FRR, we talked about MOPR, we talked about getting into a regional organization for carbon pricing. We talked a lot about a lot of different areas, and we got people's views on where they stood. And the best part about this whole committee process was that we actually had a lot of collaboration, and there were some things that people agreed on. And I think that's what's important, is to find the areas where we can agree on first and then continue to work on the areas that we couldn't agree on in the future.
So is it, can anything like Path to 100 or CJA pass in a vacuum without taking other interests into account, or will it have to be just one large?
There's a lot of similarities between Path to 100 and CJA, whether that's percentages on the RPS standards and a lot of different components that go into it. But the goal is how are we going to get 30 votes in the Senate and 60 votes in the House, and how are we going to get the governor to sign it? So you have to take in all the inputs, come to some sort of collaboration to figure out how to get it across the finish line. And Jerry, like I said, this is the first phase of many meetings to come. This is an extraordinary heavy lift for the General Assembly, and I just hope to get it accomplished by May. And we have to do something. There's some goals that we didn't meet in FEJA. I think those were assessed and addressed, and it's going to continue to be a work in progress.
Are you working with Representative Walsh's committee as well? Or?
So that's a great question. We send out an email to every stakeholder, to include the governor's office. It's bipartisan. Representative Walsh and Representative Williams, they have an open invitation to all of our meetings, as do we. We have an invitation to all their meetings. The governor's staff was there, the House staff was there, so the best part about having these hearings in both the Senate and the House is that we can accomplish getting all the topic areas heard that we have to have heard in order to get effective policy. Yes, sir, in the back. What's your name?
Sam.
Hey, Sam.
So both ComEd and Exelon were both talking about the importance of nuclear resources, that any future legislation that involves clean energy procurement and the like have to involve the nuclear resources that are owned by either of those utilities. Is that a priority for these discussions moving forward? I mean, I know that ComEd has talked a lot in the past about, be careful not to allow our nuclear plants to close, whether they're subsidized or unsubsidized.
I'll just say that nuclear plants have a very big importance in our state's base load. It's important to realize that. They also employ 10 to 20,000 men and women of labor. They have an economic impact on our communities that some people just don't really realize. These nuclear plants are essential for providing energy to about, I think, 11 million customers in Illinois. So you got to acknowledge the fact that this is a major player in the energy industry, and how do we complement that with other renewable resources in the future. And I think that ComEd and Exelon were excellent participants in terms of adding their ideas, and I think they're going to continue to participate, being that they do represent a generation company and a utility provider, and the fact that I think 22% of our nation's GDP crosses the northern part of our state in terms of energy, and I think it's important to have their participation. I was very pleased with everyone's testimony, I can tell you that. I'll just make a note that Anthony Starr of the Illinois Power Agency is an extremely educated and informed leader of that agency, and how he runs his procurements. He's identified problems, he's identified solutions to those issues. I look forward to working with him as well.
The CEJA and Exelon standalone plan that they introduced last year, they both rely on Illinois moving away from PJM and then having its own capacity market. But given all the things that Illinois has taken on and then maybe not done so well, what evidence is there that Illinois could take on something so important without, say, corruption entering into it, or just being ill-prepared? Are we really ready as a state to take on its own capacity market?
Yeah, that's part of our discussion today, the FRR components of our policy here. Everyone had input, from downstate to upstate. Everyone gave their exact position on where they stood on FRR. They gave their position on cap and trade. They elaborated on that position. But I'll just say this, when you talk about corruption and you talk about some of the ancillary effects that have taken place in Illinois, my job as the chairman of the Energy and Public Utility Committee, when we're trying to get policy on investing in renewable energy, isn't to be the judge or the persecutor. My job is to focus on policy and determine how Illinois can effectively implement that. So that's my focus, and that's why I said we'll have a series of hearings and listen to all the stakeholders to make sure that there's good policy. And by the way, you're one of my favorite reporters. You know that. You come up on my phone all the time when you tweet. I just want to make that sure that's for the record. There you go.
I'm so glad that now that's on
Good.
the record.
Put that on the record now. There you go.
So what's ComEd's role in the FRR exactly? Do they got to administer that somehow, or?
I think the IPA and will administer an Illinois version of the FRR. I think ComEd and the other utility providers will definitely have input in terms of how that goes about, how that policy is actually written. The devil's in the details as to how an FRR is implemented in Illinois. And like I said before, this is the first hearing in terms of how we're going to go about doing that. There's governors' working groups that have to deal with power. We're going to go really in depth in these working groups in terms of how we're going to go about doing this.
It's been suggested to me that this can't go this spring. This will probably get pushed to the fall. Are you committing to making sure that this, whatever negotiated bill ends up taking shape, will pass before May 31st?
I can't tell you a timeline, but I'll just tell you that I'm meeting 4 days a week with the governor's staff in terms of working groups. I spend another couple hours reading some pretty elaborate white papers on various topic areas. When it comes to a workload, I'm probably spending 30 to 40 hours a week on this topic alone. You can ask my staff what time I left the office yesterday. Is right around 11:45. So if it's a question of commitment, what I'm committed to, I just spent 3 hours in a chair asking questions to the CEOs and chief operating officers of some of the largest utility providers in the country. I'm pretty committed to accomplishing a goal of investing in renewable energy. So I hope that answers your question, Hannah. I don't waste that much time. I like to be in the gym one of these days.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. And as we go forward with these hearings, We'll notify you as well. If you want to be notified, just contact our staff. You're always more than welcome to cover the hearings. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a great thing. The testimony that was given is just so elaborate, so in detail, that I think it's important for the general public to be informed as to what's going on, especially given, Hannah, what you had stated about the ancillary things in Illinois. So I think people deserve to know what's going on, and I think we're going to do a good job at that, and I look forward to working with all stakeholders. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day, too.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.